News Radio 840 WHAS. Good Sunday morning. Bob Sokoler, the Louisville Real Estate Show, here with you till the top of the hour. And joining us on the show, some great folks and friends. Brad Lawler, he owns Home Team Inspection Service. They come in as a team. They are now ranked
Well,
number
number
one.
one, ninth year in a row. Yeah, yeah.
Nine.
Pretty
Wow.
pretty proud of that for our team. They've done an excellent job to keep us. I don't know how we've been able to do it, Bob. I guess it's
Yeah.
all of our listeners out there and
Keeping
my
me
great
going.
team members. Yeah, exactly. So thank you.
So they're number one 9 years in a row, and they're also, by the way, in Lexington and Frankfort, in addition to Louisville, Southern Indiana as well, because I can
Yes.
say
Oh
so.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yep, we're
you can
busy over
reach
there.
them. Yep, 844-411-TEAM, and Brad also has Team Bug Out, which is for getting rid of those pests that you can call as well. Same number, 844-411-TEAM. Also here, Chuck Crosby. He is the owner of the Crosby Law Offices, and in addition to doing spectacular work getting a loan closed. And by the way, it's entertaining and it goes fast, and he's very, very good at that. But he also does a variety of other things, including wills, living wills, powers of attorney, durable powers of attorney. You can create healthcare surrogate, Chuck.
Yes, yes.
Yeah. So, and it goes on, and we'll discuss these as we go through the shows. But you can reach him directly, whether it's for a closing or anything else, at 502-499-6360. That's 499-6360. And if you are thinking of selling your home, there's a lot of interest. I will tell you as we come on the air here, we have seen in the past week or two my phone ringing more with potential sellers and buyers, and which obviously we're getting into the new year, and went through the holiday season, so things slowed down there. But I will tell you, it's encouraging because we're hearing interest rates are going to drop, short-term rates by the Fed 3 to 6 times this year, and then that will affect, whether you believe it or not, it will affect long-term rates. And I think a lot of listeners are starting to hear that now, which is spurring on hope. There's a lot of pent-up potential buyer and sellers out there, and they're just waiting for a sign that the interest rates are going to improve. Well, the sign is coming. You're hearing it in a variety of media as well as the Fed. So I think we're getting out of the weeds and into some clear pasture ahead. If you're thinking about selling or buying, you can reach me anytime. Free, no obligation, and coming out and talking. You can reach me at 376-5483 or go to bobsellslouisville.com. All right. This past week was tough for a lot of folks with the snow on the ground and ice. And I was at a couple of homes where there was some severe ice problems where you could really hurt yourself. What we wanted to do is address, first of all, is I got a couple of emails and a call from our listeners. What can they do, and what type of responsibility do they have in the event someone takes a slip and fall? So, Chuck, let's start from the legal aspect of it. What would a homeowner face in the way of liability if someone, a friend, a family, a visitor, even the electric meter reader guy, comes, slips, and falls? What happens there?
Well, that's never a pleasant thought because I'm sure you've seen the advertisements on the TV for everybody that's looking for
Hmm.
just that kind of thing.
Hmm.
The idea is if you have an expectation somebody's coming in, it's your property, and you don't keep the steps properly cleared, and somebody slips and falls, you could be defending yourself. So, A, have your homeowner's insurance up. That's always a good thing. And B, clean it off properly.
You read your policy or talk to your
Yeah,
insurance guy to find out what
yeah,
type of liability you have. I guess that's a
yeah.
really good point. And then be prepared. So now that takes us to the next step here. So is there an easy way to get rid of the ice that is building up? So, Brad, I read a couple of things. One of them pushed possibly using rubbing alcohol as a way of
Yeah.
getting rid of ice. Yes?
Yeah, that first word you used, easy.
Yeah.
That's probably the cringy thing for me. But
Yeah.
rubbing alcohol works, but it's going to take a lot of it. So if you have a driveway or a lengthy sidewalk, it'll melt it. It could potentially damage the green grass and foliage around it later, but it's going to be expensive
Not
to
a good
use
idea to
alcohol.
smoke while you're doing it either.
Yeah.
Oh,
Right.
you just don't want to smoke while down on your knees. It's just a little flash fire check. Mm. Yeah, you
So,
can't see it either.
yeah, we don't want to do that, right? The magnesium chloride is
Yeah.
another
Yeah.
What's the story on that?
Well, magnesium chloride is just kind of an ice melt.
Okay.
The challenge with the ice, any of the ice melts, is some of them can be very corrosive to concrete, untreated concrete in particular. It'll create the spalling effect. It'll take that top layer off the concrete.
Hmm.
But there are a lot of commercially available ice melts that really are, they don't do a lot of damage to brick and concrete. The one thing, if you have pets, you don't want your animals walking through that stuff. So there are some pet safe ice melts that are available too. And you'll see them in jars that are labeled, pet safe ice melt. And that's frankly, that's what I reach for at my house.
Is that because it will burn the paws of the
Yeah,
pets?
because
Okay.
I mean, you think about it, most of those ice
Yeah.
melts are, the chemicals are salts. So it's
Okay.
gonna, hurt their paws.
So look for a pet safe,
Pet,
friendly,
yep, pet
and
safe. And I think the other one is just, rock salt. A lot of people put rock salt down. That's okay. The first opportunity that you have, though, to wash it away off of the concrete, please do it. If the rain doesn't get to it first, once it warms up, just hose all that stuff off the concrete so that it doesn't continue to leach in and damage potentially the concrete or brick.
Brett, if it will damage concrete, if you hose it off and it hits your lawn or a garden
Yeah.
area, won't it do damage there?
Well, it's going to have to run off at some point in time. So the
Oh,
sooner you get it off, the better. Yeah, it's
got it.
going to take a lot of water. That's why you really need to think about it before you throw down a bunch of salt on your driveway, your sidewalks. Where's the runoff going to go?
Yeah.
You've got to manage that. So pick the safest, gentlest way possible to melt the ice away.
And then I heard kitty litter. I think
Mhm.
that's an old standard, but it's not to melt it. It's really just to give it
Yeah,
traction, right?
I think kitty litter just creates traction. I mean, I know
Yeah.
people who have a bag of it in their car just in case they get stuck in snow or on ice. They can throw some kitty litter down to gain some traction. It'll do okay. Just it helps with a little bit of when you're walking on it, but it doesn't really melt it away or remove it. It just gives you a little bit surer footing.
A reminder that you can see a replay of this show, actually visually see it. Go to LouisvilleAnswers.com. That's LouisvilleAnswers.com, and it will take you to a replay on YouTube of this show. All right, we go back over now to this is actually going to go to both of you guys, both Chuck and Brad. Don called me with a problem this week, and it really raised a red flag in my mind. I want to see what you both thought about this. His home is on the market, and he received a call from a roofing company that, according to Don, they were in the neighborhood. They saw that his home was on the market. It looked like his roof needed some work, and that they were going to give him a discounted price to do some roof work. Sounds a little sketchy. Apparently, they noticed some nail pops that the roof had, and they quoted him $3,000 to have the nail pops repaired. I told him, whoa, you need to get a reputable recommendation from somebody as a roofer, someone who's been used as a roofer. And I wanted to check with both you guys because we always see fly-by-night companies come in. Not that this one was, but we don't know. So, Chuck, let's start with you. What are some red flags on that?
Well, the red flag is you didn't ask for the information in my mind. Somebody starts coming up and saying, "Oh, hey, I was in your neighborhood." Typically, that means I'm being marketed, and that just always never sets well with me. I always wonder, wait a minute, I didn't ask you to do this. Why are you doing this? But just check references. If you want to go with it, check references.
Yeah, it sounds a little high, but I don't know how many nail pops.
Yeah, I was going to say I'll hop
yeah.
up on that roof for $3K to nail a couple things down.
Which takes us over to Brad. So, Brad, is it that simple, just hopping on the roof and nailing some nails, or is there more involved when it comes to repairing nail pops?
Well, no, it can be that simple, but we don't know the extent of it. But a nail pop itself is a relatively straightforward repair. Now, you don't just take a hammer and hammer down on the shingle to
Chuck.
push the nail back through.
Yeah.
Sorry,
I'm an
Chuck.
attorney, not a roofer.
But hey, I mean, we have seen evidence of exactly that, where a roofer comes in, nails down the nail pops through the shingle, and then caulks the hole that he's created in the shingle and calls that a repair. So to Chuck's point, hey, if they want to give you a quote, that's fine, but do me a favor and get a second opinion. There are lots and lots of reputable roofers out there. I will tell you, a lot of them door knock, and they're really good roofers. They probably can be effective at repairs. I mean, $3,000, that's a lot of repairs. So get a second opinion. I mean, just because it's easy and convenient and they can do it right here and right now, because you've got a for sale sign in your front yard, it doesn't mean it's something that you have to do. Because even if the home inspector comes, we're going to write up those nail pops. We're going to suggest repairs to be made and evaluation of the roof be done. But then you get to choose the roofer who makes those repairs. So
is that really something you can see from the roadway?
You actually can.
Okay.
Yeah, you can see a lot of the times you'll see the guys standing there with binoculars even.
Uh,
So yeah, but you can
Yeah.
see the nail pops.
well,
But I
Bob,
think,
going back to
yeah.
you,
Uh-huh.
doing repairs like that prior to having a buyer with inspections and whatnot, is that ever really a great idea?
Well, it depends. If the nail pops could lead to leaking roof, a leaking roof, which could, because the shingle is up and water could back up underneath it, right? So it would better to be, I think, proactive. Brad, you're shaking your head. Yes. So
Yeah,
yeah,
no, I
yeah,
agree with you. Yeah.
yeah,
I think any maintenance that we do, regardless of what period of time it is before we sell a house, maintenance is always a good idea.
yeah, and keep a receipt to show that you've had that maintenance done. Now, and I know where you're going with this, Chuck, and it's a good point. You don't want to take care of everything before you sell the house because you want the buyer to have their inspector in, and the inspector writes up a couple of things that you may already know that you factored into needing to be fixed or repaired. And sure enough, that way at least the buyer, feels that they're getting some movement traction with the seller, and everybody comes to a happy conclusion at the closing table.
Yeah, because
So,
I'm kind of
yeah.
thinking that if you've got nail pops that are visible from the road like that,
Hmm.
with or without binoculars, I guess, wouldn't that suggest that there's other issues with that roof?
Brad, could there be other issues?
There can be. I mean, any roof is going to have some level of problem. But nail pops are one indication of just it's just things that happen in our climate. It's the things warm up, they cool down, and that causes metal contract and expand, which is why you get the nails popping up. It's not to say that a nail pop is indicative of a problem roof. It's just a natural course of what happens. It does probably indicate that the roof is going to have a little bit of age on it before the nail pops appear. But it gives you a chance to look for things like, look, we've had so much wind here lately. There's a lot of shingles that have been damaged by the wind. Even if they haven't torn away, a lot of them have been creased.
Hmm.
So it gives you an opportunity to the nail pops will lead you to, looking at for other issues up there on the roof.
I would tell you, you mentioned these potential scam artists or
Yeah.
roofers looking to take advantage of you.
Yeah.
So a number of years ago on my roof, I had a couple of nail pops and I could see them visibly from my yard. So I had talked to a friend and a friend recommended somebody. He said, oh, yeah, this guy's great. So I call him, he comes over, he hops up on the roof, and I made a mistake. And I'll tell you, you may already know what it is, but when I tell you this, he hops up on the roof and he takes out a tar gun with whatever the gawk stuff is, puts it underneath there, taps him down. There were two nail pops, and he hands me a bill for $400. Now, the mistake I made was not asking him what the cost was going to be prior to him going up. And this one did come with a recommendation, but I would tell you I would never use the guy again because I felt I was taken advantage of. So just
Yeah.
beware. Check
Right.
with a variety of friends. You can always call me, and I've got a list of roofers that I would tell you to use that would at least, they've done a decent job because we won't recommend anybody that. And so, as I think Chuck and Brad have both pointed out, reviews, really check the reviews on Google, and that tells a lot, which leads me as we go to a break to tell you, you can check our reviews. How's that for a little transition there, right? You can check our reviews. We made it very simple. You can go to LouisvilleSellersTalk.com to see the visual interviews, but also on Zillow, LouisvilleZillow.com or LouisvilleGoogle.com. Those will both take you to our reviews online. When we come back, 6 home design trends that Zillow is saying will be huge in 2024. We'll see if you have those or are planning to put those in. Continuing with us till the top of the hour, Chuck Crosby. He's the head guy over at the Crosby Law Offices, does a great job getting your home loan closed, and you can pick the closing attorney that you want. You can reach Chuck and his team at 499-6360. Also with us, Brad Lawler, owner of the Home Team Inspection Service and Team Bugout, not only in Louisville, but also in Lexington and Frankfurt. And you can reach the team at Home Team at 844-411-TEAM. And if you're looking to sell your home or buy your home, I'd love to talk to you. It's a free, no obligation consultation. You can reach me on my cell phone anytime, day or night, 502-376-5483, or go to bobsellslouisville.com. We are back in a moment on News Radio 840 WHAS. News Radio 840 WHAS, Bob Sokoler, the Louisville Real Estate Show with you till the top of the hour. Continuing with us, Chuck Crosby, the owner of the Crosby Law Offices. They do a lot of things, including getting your loan closed, wills, living wills, powers of attorney, durable powers of attorney, and the list goes on and on. You can just Google Chuck Crosby, or you can call him directly if you want to know what he does in total, because that could take a half hour right there. 499-6360 is his direct number. Also continuing with us, Brad Lawler, owner of the Home Team Inspection Service and Team Bug Out. Home Team now #1 among home team inspection services nationwide 9 years in a row. And you can reach Brad and his team at 844-411-TEAM. If you're looking to sell your home now or in the future, I would love to come out, talk with you, and just give you a path of what it takes. And you heard Barbara Corcoran endorse us. We're thrilled that she endorses us, and we love to have her as a mentor. You can reach me anytime for that free, no obligation meeting. It's simple. You can call me at 376-5483 or go to bobsellslouisville.com. Zillow, big on the field of everyone's mind these days. They've got a lot of things going on. That's good. They just published a survey of predictions of design trends. So, Brad, Chuck, let me know if you have any of these. Something that I have not heard before, brutalism. Does that ring a bell with either of you? Yeah, I know. We're all going, but characterized by raw, exposed materials, this mid-20th century design style is primed to continue its controversial comeback in 2024. That's according to Zillow, by the way. There's get a load of this, 452% increase in the share of for sale listings mentioning the word brutalist design.
Really?
Bob, I got to say something.
Yeah.
That is basically what every single flip is that we inspect.
Oh, it's a brutalist?
They're brutalist. I mean, they are, yeah. There's
okay.
just all of the areas left undone. Sorry, little tongue in cheek there.
No,
but,
but I got
there's some rough ones. Yeah, I'm sure you've seen them.
So I actually heard the phrase in reference to architecture, but I was in Romania at the time, and they were referring to the communist chic, the brutalist design.
Wow. So also in this list, sensory gardens and pathways. Zillow says if it's mentioned that you've got a sensory garden or pathway, that your listing potential for selling up 314%. I kid you not.
Wow.
Cold plunge pools back. And Zillow says that feature, if it's mentioned, will up your visibility by 130%. Now, this one I can get. Pickleball courts, right?
Yeah.
My brother and his wife down in Naples live down there, and he plays it all the time. He says if you mention a pickleball court, you'll have a 100% increase in having visibility. And then, and I don't know if I'm getting this right, Murano glass chandeliers.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that also. Stuff. And then murals. All those things help to sell your home. And I'm not so sure it's in Louisville, but it's somewhere around the country. Zillow says this is happening.
My daughter's house, she just bought a new one.
Yeah.
A new construction. And first thing she did was get my other daughter in there, and they started painting murals on the wall.
Wow.
And from the social media hits and whatnot, it's really something this younger generation, listen to me, I sound like my father, are getting into.
Are they hiring out by chance?
They could. I know they're very good artists, my daughters.
We may be creating a new business for them right here on the spot.
There you go.
Yeah,
there you go.
Chuck Crosby's number, by the way, to talk to his daughters. 499-6360. So, all right, let's go back to our questions via Zoom. You can always send me an email, bob@wesellouisville.com. Put radio question in the subject and then the actual question in the body of the email. Let's go to Brad on this. Brad Lawler. Reynolds just got back from a vacation and has found bed bugs in his luggage and now his house. Now, we've talked about this in the past, but there's an update on that. Go ahead, Brad.
Well, I think the update is that, bed bugs are not particular about the person that they climb onto. So we've been, Team Bug Out Pest Control, we've been getting calls from people who they had no problems, no bed bugs in their beautiful homes before they left. They went to an Airbnb, they went to a hotel. We've got one at least that stayed in a family member's house, and they brought bed bugs back as a late Christmas gift. So yeah, it's something that is still a problem in a lot of areas of the country and across the globe. Uh, but a little bit difficult to treat. They are tough to get rid of. It's not a do-it-yourself job. You're going to have to vacuum heavily, but it's all about really just knowing where to look for them and then using the right products to treat and what they call mattress encapsulations to prevent them from getting on you while you sleep. It's kind of gross to talk about, but yeah, it's a lot of people are calling us, having brought bed bugs back and are now horrified to let people know that they're in their house. But they can be treated. Don't panic. But it's kind of a psychological thing, for people just knowing that they may have bed bugs there.
Well, let's say that I was at BWI this last week and might have got put up in a sketchy motel when they canceled our flights. Is there something you can do before you get back home?
All right. So the first thing I'll tell you to do is take all of anything that was in that hotel room with you. If you didn't check the hotel room, you didn't, you don't know if there was any evidence.
I so did.
Take everything that you can, throw it in your dryer and run it through a heat cycle in your dryer. Because if it's in your clothing, it wants to be close to you. So it needs a human source. So it's probably going to be on clothing that you had if it's not on you. And then from there, really it's just a matter of looking. Bed bugs are not microscopic. They're visible. I mean, they're about 1/5 of an inch long. They're kind of a reddish brown color. They love to get into very tight places. So if you lift the picture, behind your bed, interestingly enough, if you have one of those, lift it up. They love hiding behind that. They get into your nightstands, so the little crevices in your nightstands next to the bed, and then they get into that ribbed edge around the mattresses. They're looking for somewhere tight, but they only come out, once they've got, warmth and carbon dioxide that they're picking up on you're breathing it out, exhaling it. That's when they come and climb on you. So
great. All right.
But vacuum them up if you find any evidence of them.
We move on. If, by the way, you have tried to sell your home in past years and it did not sell and you're discouraged, well, do this. Give me a call or go to my website, because we've got a lot of buyers standing by who are now waiting patiently to find a home, and it could be yours. Go to bobhasbuyers.com and fill it out. That's bobhasbuyers.com. All right. We go back over to Chuck Crosby at the Crosby Law Offices. Barry's owned a rental house for the past 10 years, Chuck. Every time the renters move out, Barry has to redo the entire house because of the damage that they've done. So Barry is wondering about creating an Airbnb and asked us in an email. Again, that's Bob at WeSellLouisville.com. In this email, he says, is there another way to do this? Could Barry go with creating an Airbnb instead of doing long-term rentals? What are your thoughts? Because there are some hitches here, right? Some hiccups.
I'm not exactly sure what the question is there, Bob.
Well, instead of renting out on a year-to-year basis.
Oh, okay.
Creating an Airbnb.
Go from a long-term to a short-term.
To a short-term, right.
Yeah. Sure, you can do it, provided, you get with the city, you get all your licensing done, and, you find out, because they've now got areas that can and can't, and how far from another place. You can do it subject to those restrictions. Okay, so it's not oh, yeah, sure, you can do it, definitely. It's if you fit all these qualifications. Thing is, the city's going to be able to tell you what those are and whether or not you can. So just get with them. But you're going to have the same issues. I have one client who turned a long-term rental into a short-term and is now going back to long-term because apparently the thing is people stole some credit cards, used it to sign up for the Airbnb. The credit card, of course, gets canceled, gets rejected after they've left, of course, and they left with all the stuff, the Keurig machine, the whatever. It just that seems to have hit 3-4 times in a row.
So be careful. And there are some changes coming along, like in New York. There's very difficult to do an Airbnb, and many people believe it's the hotels and the motel industry that's reacting and putting pressure on to get rid of Airbnbs because it's cutting into the motel and hotel profit. So keep an eye on that. All right, so this may be the last question with the amount of time we have. This goes to Brad Lawler of Home Team. And one of our great agents, Steve Miner, is working with a buyer who is purchasing a home with a pool. Yeah. And so Steve says the pool is covered, and the buyer and Steve want to make sure that they're not going to have any problems after purchasing the house and opening the pool up. So The pool itself has apparently been cared for by the owners and not a pool company, because normally you could go, what, Brad? You go back to the pool company, right?
Yeah. Yeah. You
And
can
ask
kind
them.
of get the records from them. Right.
But in this case, the owner's been doing this. So what would
Okay.
you suggest in terms of inspections, and what else is going to help any buyer who's listening for us who may be in a similar situation during this time of the year before closing on the house and taking possession?
So yeah, so what we do in situations like this to do any sort of pool or spa inspection during the winter, you're limited on what you can see. Okay. So we can get to probably all the equipment. We can look for, leaks in the lines.
Mm-hmm.
We can get the ages on all of the of the pumps and filters. We can, check electrical disconnects. We can do all of those aspects of it. But what we can't do is we're not running water through them. And most of the times we can't see the liners, which is what people want to see. So here, the week between Christmas and New Year's, we actually went back out to a house that the sellers agreed to uncover so that our pool inspector could take a look at the liner, because it's important to the buyer. The seller says, I've got nothing to hide. But most of the times, the pools have been professionally closed by someone. They didn't, they don't, the sellers aren't willing to open it back up. So in those cases, it's kind of like, the air conditioning units. We're not running air conditioning units right now. So I can't check to see if an air conditioner is working in cold temperatures.
Mm-hmm.
So in those cases, and I know that I've heard, some of the attorneys, including Chuck, talk about, how you, my escrow stuff, or, come to some sort of agreement where a full inspection will be done once the pool is able to be opened back up.
Mm-hmm.
If not right now, as cold as it is, and snow and ice and everything else out there. So, but yeah, we're limited into what we can actually see, and we know that we can't run anything during these cold temps.
All right. Hopefully that helps. And might want to suggest to any potential seller that if you are planning on selling your home this year during maybe the colder months when the pool is closed up, you might want to have a pool company inspect it, so that just before it gets closed up, or if you close it up yourself, just do an inspection so you've got record of the fact that it's been looked at and professionally inspected. And then take a couple of pictures, wide pictures, and then some tighter pictures of the actual pool itself to show how nice the setting is, so that when you do list it, if you give the pictures to your agent, for us, we'd love that. We'd put those online with the rest of the pictures that we take and that they would take. We are out of time. My thanks, of course, to Chuck Crosby. He is the owner of the Crosby Lowe offices. You can pick the closing attorney that you want. Not only does he do closings, but, and we talk about this all the time, he does wills, living wills, powers of attorney, durable power of attorney, healthcare surrogate paperwork, and real estate closings. And that's just a small part of it. We thank him. You can reach Chuck anytime, 499-6360. Also, Brad Lawler, owner of Home Team Inspection Service and Team Bug Out, the #1 home team inspection service now in the United States, 9 years in a row. A great team. You can reach Brad anytime at 844-411-TEAM. And if you are thinking of selling your home this year or next year, or buying a home, I would love to help you. Personally, you just simply call me. I'll come out. We'll talk about the path and what needs to be done or not needs to be done. It may be very easy for that, and we'll come up with a timeline, and it's free and no obligation. So you can reach me at 376-5483, or go to bobsellslouisville.com and fill out the form and hit submit. That's it. We're out of time. You'll see you next Sunday right here on News Radio 840 WHAS.